The last game we played before making this video was the Fulham game, where we barely scraped off a win off a deflected shot from Licha Martinez. We're going to talk a little bit about that, not much, because I'm making an in-detail tactics video with that game and the game that's going to happen tomorrow. Today's Wednesday, by the way. The game that's going to happen tomorrow in the Europa League, and I'm going to release that video on Friday or Saturday, so look out for it. It's going to be in-depth tactics with in-game footage and examples. For today, we're going to talk about Garnacho, Rashford, and Mathys Tel. We're going to talk about summer needs coming up and some other things. What's up, everybody? Thank you very much for joining me once again. Thank you for clicking on the thumbnail and watching another episode of Semeex Football. It's Semeex Football. There's a lot of people out there pronouncing it as Semeex or Semeex. It's Semeex. It's a play on my last name, actually. It's a nickname I've had since high school, and that's why I named the channel after my nickname. Thank you very much. So let's get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is a little bit about the Fulham game. The Fulham game, which I'm going to show in detail in a tactics video coming soon, like I said before. We saw some improvements, actually, even though it was boring and it was slow and we were kind of tentative. We weren't moving around as much as we should. When we did move around, we did make some decent decisions when it comes to positioning, but some of the same players that have been guilty of bad positioning, Ahmad included, guys, was again guilty of bad positioning and bad running. Not just Ahmad, a lot more. I'm just saying Ahmad included because I know that's a fan favorite. We all like him. I like him a lot. But they're still, like, basically, if I'm saying something like that about Ahmad, what I'm trying to tell you is that the whole team is still learning their proper positioning and what they're supposed to be doing. Again, I'm going to show more detail in the video coming soon on Friday or Saturday. Let's talk about Garnacho. Garnacho is pretty much being up for sale isn't the right way to say it, because we don't mind keeping him. But if he were to get a good bid in, we would sell him. And I think it's the team that wants to sell him. I think Amorim doesn't mind keeping him or selling him. I really don't think he minds either way, because I think he knows that if he sold him, he could probably bring in a player that's a little more ready for his style of football, to actually do the things he wants out of an inside 10. So I'm pretty sure Amorim is okay with selling him. But I also feel like Amorim is okay with keeping him, because Garnacho is showing me, and hopefully you guys see it too, that he's willing to adapt. He's willing to change. He did some things in that game, which again, I'm going to show in the Friday video, where he actually did some of the Amorim style things, making the runs, getting down to the byline, trying to cut back crosses, laying it off for Mazraoui so Mazraoui can go to the end line and make the cutback cross. I saw some things that I don't see from Garnacho before, and I've been seeing different things from Garnacho every single game for the last, I'd say, about 3 or 4 games, where he's coming on, he's making these runs that open up space in these different zones, zone 16 and 18. Again, I'm going to go into detail in the tactics video. I feel silly saying it now because I know what I have planned for the next video that I've already been working on. I've already been trying to edit. And it just takes longer to make a video like that. So just believe me right now, and you'll see why on Friday or Saturday, that Garnacho is getting better. But also, I think Amorim is okay with selling him and getting someone who's ready-made, that he doesn't have to coach so much, to teach so much to get him to run into these positions. Also, I think that if we had enough money to where he could bring in a ready-made player, he probably wouldn't sell Garnacho. Not probably, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't. Why would you? The kid is trying, the kid's putting in the effort, and he's loved by the fans. I don't think you sell Garnacho if you don't need the money to get somebody else. You keep Garnacho around, he's your backup. He's the guy who's going to learn from, say, a Matheus Cunha or someone else who can play an inside 10 and do the role like inside and not want to be outside. See, Garnacho wants to be outside, but you can also see Amorim is starting to make adjustments for that. He had Mazraoui play more inside, so he had his full wing back, inverting more so Garnacho can stay outside a little bit more. Again, something I'm going to talk about in the next video, so I should probably stop talking about it now so I stop saying what I'm saying. Anyways, let's talk about Rashford a little bit. Now, Rashford, a lot of people are in an uproar because the manager said this.
If you do the maximum, if you do the right things, we can use every player. And you can see it today on the bench. We miss a little bit like pace to go, to change the game, to move some pieces, but I prefer like that. I will put Vital before I put a player that don't give the maximum every day. So
there's nothing wrong with what he said there, in my opinion. I mean, yes, it's brutal. Yes, it's harsh. is he talking about Rashford? Is he not? He's clearly making an example out of players that aren't trying their hardest in training. That's what he's trying to get across. That's the point he's really making here, is that if a player's not trying so hard in training, then I'd rather play the goalkeeping coach. And is that wrong? No, that's just passion, fire. That's what he expects. Look, the manager's number one priority is to maintain high standards, an environment of environment of professionalism, like good attitudes, people who really care about the job and are here to do the job 100%, committing their whole lives for this. Especially on the wages that some of these players are on, they need to be coming in full 100% focus, giving it all, ready to die on the pitch for the team. I think other managers in the past have let people slide. People who aren't working that hard, they've let them slide because they've needed them. They were desperate for wins. This manager's never lost more than 6 games in a full season with any other team, and he's already lost 6 games with us. I believe that's a correct statistic. I'm pretty sure we've lost 6 games. If I'm wrong, then we've lost 5. But this manager's never lost more than 6, and he's desperate for goals, and he's desperate for wins. He could easily let Rashford slide, get him back into the team, and he's someone he could probably use because, as he said in the interview himself, or in the press conference itself, that we do need pace. We do need someone who can come off the bench in the last 25 minutes of a game and just inject a bunch of pace in and really terrorize the other team. But he's not willing to bend on his rules or his beliefs to let that happen. If the player is not showing 100% commitment and training hard, he's not going to play him. Now, who knows? Maybe Rashford is training hard, because some of you guys are out there on Twitter saying things like, you're going to make me believe that Rashford is not training hard, but you somehow believe that he is, and that's fine. Maybe you believe that. Maybe it wasn't a training issue. Maybe Rashford disrespected him. Either way, something happened. I don't think the manager woke up one day and decided that he's going to have an agenda against Rashford. I saw his podcast, an athletic podcast, The Athletic, and one of the journalists there, a lady, she said that she interviewed one of Ruben Amorim's ex-players, and that one time there was a player that's like a brother to Ruben Amorim that played for him at Casapia, and he showed up late to training, and Ruben never played him again. And that was that. He never played him again because he showed up late to training. I don't think it was one time, but I think he showed up late to training once or twice, and Ruben didn't play him again. And it was no hard feelings because they were like brothers, like I said. And in like a couple of years later or a year later, Ruben is actually the godfather of that player's daughter. So it was the rule. That's the rule. That's what's going to happen. If you're going to break the rule, then you don't play. Even if you're someone I respect, I love, even if I'm the godfather of your daughter, that's the rule, and that's the standards we keep. She also said that one of the players that she interviewed said that the minimum that Ruben expects is the maximum you got. So think about that. In training, the minimum he expects from your effort levels, your focus levels, is the maximum that you can train at. And that's why his players perform so well. That's why Sporting was on a, I don't want to say unbeatable run, because they were winning every game. It's not that they weren't tying every game before he left this season. They were winning every game. That's why Sporting outdid what they had ever done in the past when he joined the team, or what they had ever done in the last 16 years when he joined that team. He expects everyone to train hard. And I like it, man. I'm not against it. And if that means that someone I used to really like as a player is Marcus Rashford, I mean, I'm not saying I don't like him anymore. I'm just saying I don't see him anymore. So like, what am I going to like? Someone who's not even around, not even on the bench. But he was one of my favorites. I have 2 or 3 of his kits or jerseys back in my closet over there. At least 2, maybe even 3 of his jerseys in my closet over there. That's usually the jersey I buy if I want to buy one. If I like the way a new Manchester United jersey looks, I usually buy the number 10 with the Rashford on it. So that is my guy. But if my guy isn't giving 100% of himself to the team, then really, like, it's okay. He can leave. It's all right. We'll survive. We'll get somebody else in who is going to give 100%. I don't know, man. How do you guys feel? Leave it in the comments. I hope I didn't piss off some people, because every time I say something like that and give my opinion, there'll be somebody in the comments telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. That's just what I see, and that's what I believe. As a coach myself, I have to uphold the highest standards. When a player comes into training, I don't let like complacency slide. I can't let complacency slide, because if they underperform, guess who gets blamed? Me. I'm the one who gets blamed. It's my job to make sure they perform. And I can't, performance isn't a light switch. It is for some people, from stories we've heard, like Eden Hazard, where they can train really bad, but then next thing you know in a game, they're monsters, like Carlos Tevez was rumored to be that way. But that's the exception to the rule. That's not the rule. Most people need to have it 100% of the time, like Michael Jordan. He didn't go to training and half-ass it. He worked hard in every single training session, because you want to train the way you expect to play. You don't just train lazy and then show up to the game and expect to be on it. It's just not the way a coach is going to think, and it's not the way a player should act. All right, enough about Rashford. I've had enough about Rashford. Rashford this, Rashford that. I really wish he would find a move out. That's the only problem I have with this, is because I really feel like he's not going to go. The Saudis were interested in him. He could have gotten an out there. He would have gotten paid a lot of money. We would have made a lot of money. We would have been pretty much well paid for that transfer, but he is rejecting the move to Saudi. He really wants Barcelona, and that might not happen unless we're willing to give him to Barcelona on loan. And even in that case, Barcelona would still have to make a sale to be able to afford his monstrous wages. Even though he's willing to take a haircut and lower his wages, it's still probably not low enough for Barcelona to take him on loan without making a sale. So I think we're stuck with Marcus Rashford for the foreseeable future, unless he's willing to go on loan somewhere where he doesn't want to play, where they will pay most of his wages, or at least half of his wages, or whatever the hell of his wages. I don't know. I don't like it, but again, leave it in the comments. Let me know if you think I'm crazy, but that's just the way I feel about him now. The next story I want to talk about is Garnacho, which we already talked about a little bit as it comes to his playing style, but someone on Twitter is someone who's a content creator, not on Twitter, on YouTube, but on Twitter, that person posted something like Glinios has found a new way to make money selling young players for profit, something like that. And look, Mark is very, very adamant he doesn't want Garnacho to leave, and I don't understand that. I get it. Like I said, I get him leaving and I get him staying, but I don't understand someone saying something like Glenios, which is Glazers, and Ineos basically have found a new way to make money, which is selling young. But that's not a new way to make money. We've sold Nicky Butt. We sold Phil Neville. We've sold young players in the past. We sold Danny Welbeck. Although it was Louis van Gaal at that time. The other two I named was Sir Alex Ferguson. He sold David Beckham because he got too famous or whatever. It doesn't matter why. David was still young. He was still in his prime when he was sold. We sell young players to make money sometimes. Now, back in those days, FFP rules didn't apply, so he didn't really need to do it. But could you imagine if Ferguson was operating in today's environment where FFP rules applied and where players are, 60 million pounds gets you a okay player. It's not a world beater. And 80 million pounds gets you Cristiano Ronaldo back then. Now Cristiano Ronaldo would be like 150 to 200 million pounds, if not more. So imagine that kind of environment where players are more expensive and there are FFP rules and PSSR rules. You think Sir Alex Ferguson wouldn't have sold more of his academy graduates? He would have kept them all? No, I don't think so. I think he would have sold even more than he already did, which he did. After the class of 92, he sold some of those players. Like I said, off the top of my head, I get Nicky Butt and Phil Neville just coming right off the top of my head. And I'm sure there's more that I don't even think of because maybe they weren't that good. I'm pretty sure we sold John O'Shea too, but I don't know how young he was when we sold him. But anyways, my point is that this isn't new. This isn't something to get mad over. This isn't something to get upset about. This is what you do. You buy good young players. I'm so happy that the team's finally doing this, by the way, that we got a Chibo Obi Martin. We got what do we get? We got Aiden Heaven or whatever, Heaven from Arsenal, this center back, left-footed center back. Look, I don't know how he plays because I haven't seen much of him, but I've seen a little bit of him. And for what I've seen of him, and what I've read is that he's really good on the ball. He's a good passer. He's a good dribbler and everything else. He's very comfortable and calm on the ball, but he's not a good defender. So I don't really get that one. He's coming in as a center back, and he's not a great defender. He's not great at winning his duels, tackling a ball, and getting the ball off a forward of the other team. He gets burned a lot. He gets tricked and burned and dribbled past a lot, or he fouls. From what I saw, look. Again, what I'm seeing are little bits and pieces of him play. I'm not like watching full games of him, but I was curious to see like if this kid is really the real deal. he's really good on the ball. I just don't know if he could hack it as a defender in the Premier League, to be honest. Like, I don't know. Maybe he'll learn. Maybe he'll get stronger. He'll fill out. He won't be so tall and lanky and skinny, because that's what he is right now. And he'll learn to be a little bit stronger and win his duels. I don't know, but I'm not opposed the signing of him either way, because he's young and because he's always going to be sellable in the future, and we'll always either make our investment back or make some profit on him. And that's okay. It's okay. Not every young player is going to make it to our first team. I don't understand that. This is where Mark and James again differ, like I said in the last video, but this time I lean more towards what James believes than what Mark believes. That's what I mean by last time I told you guys that I'm somewhere in the middle of these two guys, and I am. Sometimes I lean more that way, sometimes I lean more this way. But that's where I am on this, that we need to buy young. Sekou Kone, it looks great. That kid from Mali, he looks great right now in the academy. Maybe he'll make it in the Premier League as a top tier player, or maybe he'll be an okay, good player that we could sell for profit and make a good chunk of FFP money on, so we can go buy the one we need for our team. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good investment. It's the way business is run. It's the way it should be run. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why people are getting upset about it. And again, if Garnacho was 100% fit for Amorim, we wouldn't be getting rid of him. And like I said, I don't think they're really like wanting to sell Garnacho desperately where they're going to drop his price. I might be wrong. We might find out that they dropped the price because he wanted to go to Napoli, and Napoli is only offering 40 million pounds. I think Garnacho doesn't leave for less than 50 million pounds. I think that's a fair price for this young man. We'll see what happens. The summer window, man, guys, the summer window is going to be so vital. If we're getting in Dorgu right now, before we even talk about the summer window, we got to talk about the exciting news that Mathys Tel is on our radar, and that we're trying to get him in on loan. And there's an actual possibility that we get him in on loan, maybe with an obligation to buy over the summer. He is somebody that we were looking at before last summer. Somewhere in February, Plettenberg had already said that Manchester United were in for Mathys Tel and they wanted him. He actually fits the bill when it comes to like what Ineos want to sign. He's young, he's talented. He'll come in on lower wages than most people, like Matheus Cunha. Cunha would not be coming in on the same kind of wages that Mathys Tel would be coming in on. That's what I believe, I think, because he's too young to be coming in on that. And Cunha is a 25-year-old. By the way, if you look at their scope, their data MB, stats or whatever you want to call it, the radar, this is what it looks like. It almost overlaps. They almost have the same attributes, the same characteristics. They both do a lot of carrying, ball progression. They both have decent, passes in the final third. They create a lot of chances. They score some. They have very much the same characteristics. So I can totally understand that if we were in for Cunha and found out that we can get a Mathys Tel for 20 million cheaper, and we can loan him in right now and pay for him later, why not get the younger Mathys Tel, who's going to be on lower wages? And also, like I said, if it doesn't work out, it's easy to sell him and move him on. It's not going to be so easy in 2 years when Cunha's 27 years old if he hasn't played well for us for 2 years. Whereas with the teenager, when he's 20 or 19 or 21, 2 or 3 years from now, if he still hasn't worked out for us, it's easier to move him on because he's still young and he'd be on low wages, and we can get some of our money back or maybe even make a profit. I don't know. Depends on the deal we make. Probably not make a profit, but at least get some of our money back and free up some FFP, so then we go and try again and get somebody else. That's how this works. That's why I think Mathys Tel is going to be the one they go for as opposed to Cunha, even though I think Cunha could come in right now and do a fantastic job right away. Cunha would do a better job than Mathys Tel right away for sure, but Mathys Tel has so much upside that you never know. He could, in 3 years, Mathys Tel could be twice the player Cunha is today. We don't know. I'm excited about it. How do you guys feel about it, man? Let me know in the comments. I'm always interested to hear and read what you guys are thinking about, because that's what makes my mind go, because sometimes I have my own opinion and then I'll read something you guys will say and it'll actually open up my opinion and it'll change my mind. So let me know what's going on in the comments, guys. Let me know. It's okay to disagree with me. I love it. But just don't get a certain kind of way if I reply back to your comment because I still don't agree or I still don't see your point of view, or I might give you something else to think about. Okay? So don't just pour on to me and not accept me maybe disagreeing with you and telling you what I think. but come on, let's do it in the comments, guys. I love reading all your comments. You guys know I answer just about everybody's comment, just about 99% of comments, as long as they were done within the first 48 hours of me posting this video. After that, I'm usually working on the next video, looking at other comments. I might not get to your comment. I might read it. I read all of them, even on ones on videos from like 10 weeks ago. If there's a new comment, I read it. But I might not respond to it because I've already moved on and I'm looking at, I'll think about what you said, but I've moved on to the next video. Anyway, let's move on. The last thing I want to talk about is Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim is starting to look like he's getting frustrated. He's getting tired, and I totally understand where he's coming from. But honestly, I think that Ineos took too long to sign Dorgu, who's going to be fantastic for us. I just don't know how Dorgu and Garnacho are going to work. And if you remember a couple of minutes ago, I said something about Garnacho starting to play more outside and Ruben's having Mazraoui invert as he's coming down so that Garna can operate on the outside. And even in his last press conference or interview, Ruben said that he's starting to learn how he can make the best use out of Garnacho. And basically what he's saying there is that he's starting to realize that, okay, maybe Garna is better outside for the most part. And then that means the wingback has to invert and play the inside role. Somebody's got to play the inside role. And guess what? Mazraoui was not good at it. He was not good at it. I'm going to show that in the video on Friday or Saturday. But Dorgu's not, I don't know if everything I've seen of Dorgu so far, I haven't watched him enough to like sit here and tell you like for sure I know what I'm talking about. But I can tell you that from everything we've seen of Dorgu, he's usually operating his best on the outside. He's very, very much like a Nuno Mensch on the outside, likes to dribble, likes to cross, is very powerful with the way he runs. Maybe he can do that on the inside too. That's what we're going to find out, but that's my concern. I'm trying to figure out, like, how's Ruben going to use him? Is this going to work out with Garnacho, or is now Dorgu coming in? Ruben maybe envisions Dorgu's going to be on the outside, so maybe Garna is more likely to be let go, more likely to be told, like, maybe you should take that deal with Napoli. I don't know. We're going to find out. But I am feeling a little bit concerned for our manager who's looking tired. He's looking frustrated. He's not looking happy. And I hope that things change soon. I hope that Ineos back him and give him one more player that he needs, which might be that Mathys Tel deal. And I think that would then have the outside left sorted and the inside left sorted if that happens, and we'll see where we go from there. Guys, thank you very much for joining me. I got a big video coming soon. Like I said, in the next 2 or 3 days, it will post after the game tomorrow. I want to get that game, see if there's anything different from what I'm analyzing in the Fulham game, include them both in the video tactically, and drop it for you guys to watch. Thank you so much for being with me, guys. Like and subscribe if you're here. Let's get the subscriber count up. Lately, I haven't been getting more than like a couple hundred, maybe 100 likes. Let's see if we can get 300 likes and get this video to get views, because I haven't been getting close to the kind of views I used to get before I got sick and before I got to Vegas. So I must have lost some viewers because I didn't post for a while. And I get it. It's my fault, but I couldn't do anything about it. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you soon. Bye.